So by now you all know that the folks at Line 6 have just released their firmware 3.15 for our Line 6 Helix, HX Stomp, Helix Native, etc. It's always a really exciting time when we get a new firmware update, and I always like to do a video featuring my top 5 favorite new features every time we have a release. These are going to be things you're going to see in the release notes, but it's always fun to review the things that I'm most excited about. So without further ado, here are my top 5 favorite new additions. Coming in at number 5 is the Heliosphere delay. Now you might ask what this delay is. What it is, it's a delay that has a reverb injected right into the feedback loop of the delay itself. So if we go over to HX Edit and take a look at what we have here, we see we have note sync feedback, rate and depth, so there's a modulation effect built in on our feedback as well. But we also have this reverb, mix, and decay, which is really ultra cool. So if I bring this mix up to 100%, we can hear how we can mix in reverb onto our delay feedback. Let's crank that feedback up. And you'll notice I have no other reverb effect on, so this is all coming just from the Heliosphere. Look out for a full dialing in video featuring the Heliosphere very soon. Coming in at number 4 is the dynamic plate reverb. Again, coming back over here to HX Edit, we will see the addition of the dynamic plate reverb. We had the dynamic hall reverb added in the 3.1 update, and it's really cool because it gives us this ability to add some motion to the sound and add some movement to the plate reverb. I'm a big fan of the dynamic hall, and I'm really excited about this addition to the Helix with this firmware update. Coming in at number 3 is another reverb and another dynamic reverb at that, and this time it's the dynamic room reverb. So very similar to the dynamic hall and the dynamic plate that we just talked about, we have this dynamic room, which gives us a decay range from 0.1 seconds up to 3 seconds of room time. So if we're looking for a reverb that's a little smaller than the dynamic hall, but still with this motion rate control, and the ability to control that rate of motion, which gives us a lot more possibilities in our reverb. This is going to be a beautiful addition. One of the big complaints from a lot of Helix folks for a long time was that they never felt the reverbs were that great. I've always kind of thought they were actually quite good, but they've really upped their game here. You know, with things like the Hot Springs and now the Dynamic series. We have the Dynamic Hall, Dynamic Plate, and Dynamic Room. I think this is going to make a lot of folks quite happy. Coming in at number 2 is the Ampeg optocomp compressor pedal. So we now have this beautiful little Ampeg optocomp, which is a very simple optical compressor. We have the compression setting, the release, the mix, and I really like the type of compression that this gives. Very simple to dial in, but very effective and a very nice addition. Look out also for a full dialing in video based around the Ampeg optocomp in the very near future. And my absolute number 1 favorite new feature is the addition of the Line 6 original Vaughn 2 amp model. That's the amp model you've been hearing me play through this entire video with all the little snippets of audio you've played. Well, what is this Vaughn 2 amp model? Well, let's go to the release notes and take a look and see what we're told by Ben over at Line 6, who designed this amp model. So Ben's description is, this model comes from a physical amp idea I had a while back. I was going to build it as a tube amp first. There are only so many hours in a day though. The idea was to create a coveted boutique amp that had a different origin story. Most coveted boutique amps come from modified black panel Fenders or modified Marshall circuits. I wanted to do the same thing, but base it on the early 70s orange circuits and the mid-wattage Fender tweed circuits. So he goes on to describe even in more detail what the controls all do, and I'm going to be doing a dialing in video very specifically for this amp model, and also keep your eye out on the Line 6 marketplace as I have the Line 6 Vaughn 2 Ultimate preset that will be available very soon, and I have to say it's probably one of my favorite presets. This amp truly blew me away as I started messing around with it, and it's a really wonderful sounding amp for everything from clean to overdriven tones, and I think you guys are going to really love it. So there you have it, my top 5 favorite new features. If you guys have updated your Helix or HX Stomp yet, go check those out. Obviously, this is just scratching the surface of what has been added in this firmware update. The folks at Line 6 just knocked it out of the park yet again, as we've come to expect. When they give us new firmware, it's always exciting, and these are just a few of my top features. Look out for full videos covering these topics in the future, some dialing in videos with some of these new effects and the new amp that's been added, and also for a lot of the other things I didn't get to talk about in this video, but that'll all be coming real soon, so keep an eye out on my channel. So please like the video, share it with anybody who you think would enjoy it or get some use out of watching it, and please subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. I'll be back really soon with a lot more 3.15 firmware content. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Ciao for now.